As usual, a 13-year-old boy got up and went to the kitchen to eat breakfast. As he came down, his dad gave him a beautiful smile. Sidney never told him about the kids bullying and laughing at him and his family's lack of money. Sidney loved school. The only thing he didn't like was recess. Sidney was not the popular kid who had all the girls after him. He was a general boy who had no friends. After his breakfast, he went to school, but he was still hungry. Sidney never criticized his parents about that and he never cried about that neither. Sidney was a quiet boy. He was happy with the stuff he had. On his road to school, Sidney saw the boy who was bullying him at school. They came to him and took his lunchbox and emptied it in front of him. To finish, the boys jumped on his food. Sidney was used to that. After packing up the rest of his food, Sidney continued his way to school. The teacher of the 13-year-old boy loved him as a student, and Sidney loved her too as a teacher. She, she said that he was the boy with the most beautiful future in life. In the class, Sidney always received folded papers. On those papers was written many insults on him, on his family, and on his house. His only reaction was to ignore the people and the papers, but for sure, it hurts him. Sidney wanted to fight against them, but he didn't because his parents didn't like that. He thought that bullying was stupid, but still, he was getting bullied. His dad always told him to never reply and to keep his emotion inside of him, like he always did. People were thinking that Sidney was the little boy of his mommy, so they thought he didn't know how to defend himself. But Sidney knew that he was strong mentally and physically. After school, Sidney walked home alone. On each day, Sidney dreamed about the same thing. He dreamed about having the huge castle, that their parents had the cars and the year, and not just a rent car. In front of his house, when he saw the for sale sign, he was really surprised and he ran into the house to go see his dad. He was really mad to his dad for the first time of his life, but they talked about the sensitive subject and finally, Sidney agreed with his dad because he knew that their family was too poor to pay this house. Sidney was crying because his house was all he had apart his family. When he was 9 years old, his dad built him a treehouse for his birthday on the backyard, and since then, he mostly did all his stuffs in the treehouse on summers, on winters. He remembered all the great memories, and he left his house to go walk. After he took a little walk, Sidney went to go see at the hockey rink to go play with the other peoples. But the people at the hockey rink didn't want him to play with them, so he just skated at the free skate rink beside the hockey rink. When everybody left the hockey rink, he went to go take some slap shots because he was really mad. He was looking at the sky and he was asking himself why is anyone doesn't want to be friends with him. Again, he was crying and he returned to his house because it was really late. On that night, he was really mad with his parents for no reason, but at the same time, he knew that he didn't have to do that. He didn't eat supper and he went to his treehouse because it's the only place that could make him calm down. The next day, he went to school. When he came to class, again, everybody was laughing at him. But as usual, he just ignored them and went sit at his place. During the whole class, he didn't listen to the teacher. He was only thinking to go back to his treehouse. By returning to his house, he went to the store to buy some ice cream.
He sat down at the bench to enjoy his ice cream. Then he discovered a newspaper saying in the front page that there's going to be a hockey tournament for 12, 13 years old, and if you win the tournament, you win $15,000.
Sidney forgot to tell him that if he wins the tournament, he wins $15,000. Alex was really surprised and happy at the same time. He told Sidney that he will be his own coach. Sidney wasn't quite happy at all because he didn't believe in his dad's talent. The next day, Alex organized a special entrainment for Sidney because he wanted his son to be at the perfect condition. But Sidney needed some equipment because he only had skates, a hockey stick, and gloves. His dad was very worried about that because he knew that he didn't have a lot of money to buy all the missing equipment. But Alex remembered that his dad had some hockey stuff, but it was very old. Sidney told his dad if that it was okay if it's old. He just needed more practice. So Sidney began his practice by doing some skating drills and some shooting. Finally, the tournament day arrived, and Sidney was really excited and also ready. The first round Sidney won. It was very easy because the other guys wasn't prepared at all. But the second round was a bit harder because the opponent was big but very very slow. Then Sidney arrived to the quarterfinals and he won by only 2 goals, but 2 very important goals.
Sidney got the opportunity to skip the semifinals because of the injury of the other players. Sidney knew that he was lucky, not because he just went directly to the finals, but he was lucky because he had a dad that supported him in his sport. Sidney got the news that he will play versus an Arabian player, a boy named Nazem Kadri, who was the best hockey player in the entire hockey league. He was the best shooter, the best hitter, the best passer, and the best playmaker. Everybody was afraid of him. Nazem didn't go to the same school as Sidney. He went in a private elementary school. The dad of Nazem was a lawyer, and his mom was a dentist. There were 3 in the family and they lived in a castle. Obviously, they were really rich. The hockey equipment of Nazem was awesome, but Sidney's equipment wasn't the best, it was old. 2 hours later, Sidney was at the game. The coach of the courageous boy was his dad. The coach of Nazem coached 12 years in the National Hockey League. Nazem was really tall, really strong, and he also had big muscle. In the warm-up, Nazem was practicing his shot. They weren't strong. They were so strong that they were doing holes in the net. Sidney's shots were great, but they weren't comparable to Nazem's shot. When the game started, Nazem took the puck, decked Sidney, and put the puck in the net. After only 2 minutes of the first period, Nazem scored 4 goals. Alex, the dad of Sidney, called him after the second period for a pep talk. Alex told him, "No pain, no gain, boy." Sidney understood that his dad wanted him to go deep in the corners and to give everything in the shot and give all his energy on his skating. In the third period, Nazem hit Sidney twice in the head and again twice on his back. The score was 7-0 for Nazem. Sidney said to himself that it was the time to wake up and to show his true talent. Sidney scored 7 fat goals. Every spectator was amazed. The game needed to be decided in the overtime.
Look, if you had one shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted, one moment, did you capture it? Or just let it slip? Yo, his palms are sweaty.
Oh yes, Sidney Crosby scored and win $15,000.
I'm right chip outs, man. I got this, yeah.